We've all heard it before. Leave your ego at the door. It sounds noble, a true pearl of wisdom. It's complete nonsense. It walks in with you despite your best efforts. The only question is, are you controlling it or is it controlling you? For thousands of years, philosophers have compared the mind to the rider that tames a wild beast. And that wild beast is your passions, your desire, your ego. And that's one of the paradoxes of Jiu-Jitsu. We say check your ego, but the ego is the very thing that gets you back on the mat after getting smashed. But left unchecked, it can wreck your body, poison the entire gym, and even drive you out of the art entirely. And that's what we're talking about today. How ego can be both your enemy and your engine, and how this ancient struggle of rider and wild beast plays out every night on the mats. Welcome to the Alchemy of Struggle, baby. People love to say leave your ego at the door, but the truth is, unless you're a Zen monk that's been meditating in the mountains of Tibet for the last 80 years, it is going to be impossible for you to leave your ego at the door. The reason we like to pretend otherwise is because it sounds noble. It makes us sound like we're above it all. But trying to pretend that ego doesn't exist is like pretending anger doesn't exist. But anger can be a powerful emotion in the right context. Anger has sparked revolutions and movements that have changed the course of history. But that same anger has destroyed cities, brought down entire nations, and ruined relationships. Same fuel, very different outcomes. Ego works the same way. So it's not about removing or suppressing the ego. It's about whether you're harnessing it or if it is harnessing you. If it wasn't for ego, you probably wouldn't be doing jiu-jitsu at all. For those who say, look, I do jiu-jitsu because it's a nice activity after work. It helps me keep in shape. I get to exercise without feeling like I'm exercising. All of those things might be true. But you could also join a basketball league, a softball league, or become the phenom of the rowing machine at your local fitness center. All of those activities are much safer and you don't have to risk limb and joint. But something in you wanted more. Something in you wanted to be seen as dangerous, as more capable, and dare I say, more respected. So let's talk about the quiet truth that no one wants to admit. We all love the look in people's eyes when we tell them that we train jiu-jitsu. The nod of respect, that little flash of envy. That's not for the love of the art. That's ego in the flesh, baby. That just proves that the ego is powerful and all-encompassing. That's why stories like Plato's chariot or the Zen wild horse are so famous, because of the obvious truth behind them. That left unchecked, that wild beast will throw you off course and wreck everything in its path. But if you can mount it, if you can channel it, that's where real transformation happens. So that same ego that bristles when you lose a roll in training, it's the same ego that sharpens your technique. It's the same ego that helps you prepare for that big competition. It's raw, it's dangerous, but under control, it is the fuel of growth. So now that we've accepted that ego isn't something that we can just shake off, how do we turn it into fuel? Well, first, we have to drop the bumper sticker wisdom. Let's put it in the same trash bin that we put strength doesn't matter in jiu-jitsu and belts don't matter in jiu-jitsu. All feel-good slogans that makes you sound like the wise old sage, but that few people actually believe or follow. So the first step is to redirect the comparison game. The ego loves comparisons. It makes you compare yourself to everyone on the mat. Who's better? Who's less than? Who's more technical? Who has more wins? So you're not going to kill that instinct, but you can redirect it. Just force it to make a healthier comparison. Instead of, I need to crush that guy, you can say, can I do this round a little bit better than last week? I'll give you a perfect example. There's a black belt that I spar with pretty often. He's much smaller than me, but super technical, keeps moving, and pretty much shuts down everything that I try. So last week, we slapped hands, and I said, okay, I'm gonna do something a little bit different today to trip you up. I moved at different angles, I went after different sweeps, and I went after different techniques. I gave him a completely different look instead of doing the stuff that I normally do. Now, of course, I didn't win the role, but here's what I can say I confidently did. I said, I got about 1 inch closer. And he just kind of laughed because he knows he's like 10 steps ahead of me. But I did just a little bit better than I did the week before and the week before that. And for me, that's a win. It's a comparison, but it is a healthy comparison. So the ego still gets the scoreboard, but you own the frame. Tip number 2, use ego to fuel consistency instead of domination. Ego loves streaks, scores, and milestones. It's why some of us get stuck playing video games for hours at a time, and why others get stuck in front of the slot machine all night long. Because it's that hit that we're looking for. We just need to give ego a different target to go after. We can say, for instance, I'm not going to miss an entire class this month. That doesn't mean you go to every single class. But if your habit is 2 days a week, 3 days a week, 4 days a week, whatever it is, your target now is to make sure you don't miss one of those days, or pick any other healthy target that works for you. So you let ego obsess over showing up instead of smashing every training partner in the room. Number 3, checkmate the ego with skill goals. The ego wants recognition. Fine, let's give it to it. But instead of allowing it to focus on getting recognized for subbing everyone in the room, set a goal for hitting a specific sweep that you haven't been able to hit yet. So the ego still gets to celebrate, but you're steering it toward a different path altogether. Number 4, and this is probably the most important, put the ego in check during your role. Tell yourself, I don't need to win the round, but I do need to understand the lessons in the round. What you got from that round that gave you a better understanding of Jiu-Jitsu, of your training partner, and of yourself. So the ego still gets fed because it has something positive to point to. And you get to win at the long game because you're learning instead of focusing on keeping score. Number 5, let the ego fuel you outside of the mat. Sure, you can say, I train smart because I'm older and wiser. But deep down inside, the ego loves to know that at 40, 45, 50 years old, you're not some broken down man on the sofa waiting to die. So it fuels you to dial in your diet, to dial in your recovery, and to dial in your strength training. That's clean fuel. Use it. So the problem isn't that you have an ego. The problem is pretending that you don't. Harness it, aim it, and ride it like a mother. Because that's where real growth comes from. That's the very definition of the alchemy of struggle, baby. And if you haven't seen it already, make sure you check out the last video where I debunk the whole idea of belts not mattering in Jiu-Jitsu. It'll be linked at the end of this video. And if you have a question or there's a topic you'd like me to cover, send a message to the email that's on the screen. I read every message and I respond. And as always, I want to thank the subscribers and the commenters for helping me level up this content. But remember, there are others who need this message, so let's help them find it. Like, share, and subscribe. Keep up the good fight and stay safe on those mats. Peace.